You're listening to the No Bullshit Vegan Podcast, episode 213. Coach Mike Howard is here to discuss longevity without the hype, why over-tracking can backfire, and how mastering the boring basics actually leads to better health.
Welcome to the No Bullshit Vegan Podcast. Myth-busting and evidence-based advice to help you kick butt with your health and fitness on a vegan diet. Here's your host, Karina Inkster.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Karina, your go-to no BS vegan fitness and nutrition coach. Thanks for joining me today. If you haven't yet heard, I'm giving a TEDx talk about aligning our meals with our values, via veganism, of course, and you can watch the live stream. Pick up a ticket at tedxsurrey.ca. That's TEDxsurrey.ca to watch live from anywhere in the world on Saturday, January 24th, 2026. So that's tedxsurrey.ca. I want to share a powerful win from our community that demonstrates the importance of strength training, not just for things like bone density, body composition, and aesthetics, but for real life. One of our clients wrote to us this week, "Your coaching this year has really held the space for me to grow physically. When I started, I could not hold my arms over my head long enough to do my hair. Now I'm able to carry my grandniece for blocks and push a piece of furniture up the stairs. I'm now confidently a healthy, happy, strong vegan." How amazing is that? Yes, our client has changed her body composition and gained muscle and improved her strength, but she's also getting more out of life. And isn't that the whole point? If you want strength, structure, and less wellness noise, we've got you. Apply for coaching with me and my team at karinainkster.com/coaching. We help vegans and veg-curious folks build habits they actually keep. Learn more and apply at karinainkster.com/coaching. Introducing today's guest, Mike Howard. He was on episodes 24 and 68 of this show, so you should definitely check those out if you haven't yet. With almost 30 years of in-the-trenches experience as a personal trainer, online coach, youth fitness specialist, author, retreat leader, and presenter, Mike has orchestrated meaningful, individualized solutions to thousands of clients and fitness professionals, both in Vancouver and around the world. His favorite vegan meal is deep-fried agadashi tofu, which is, by the way, firmly in my top 5 all-time favorite dishes. Here's our conversation. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Karina. How are ya?
I'm good. Long time no see. Or chat.
I know.
Or anything.
I know. It's been a minute. Holy moly. How are things?
Pretty good. I'm not usually recording at this point because I'm, making sure everyone's tech is good, but I kind of wanted to get the catch up. So I'm already recording if you're cool
awesome.
with that.
Yeah. Good to go. Good to go. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm front loading. So I'm doing a whole shitload of podcast episodes and then not doing any recordings for like 3 months while I work on this TEDx thing.
Yes, good for you.
And then once that is done, then I'll go back to regularly scheduled programming.
Awesome. That's exciting. I'm super thrilled for you. Congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you.
Well deserved.
Hey, we've talked a little bit about it's a little performative.
Yeah.
It's a little, I don't know. You start talking to people, like initially they're all saying, "Oh, congrats, this is awesome." And then when I share that I have some reservations about the whole organization, they're like, "Yeah, actually, I agree. It's gone a certain direction." So anyway, there's like layers.
Yeah, absolutely. But you get to sort of shine your light on it. So it's like, that you can be part of the solution in a sense, I guess, maybe, right? But
I hope so. It'll be a learning experience. It's all good.
Absolutely.
What have you been up to?
Yeah.
What's new in Mike's world?
Yeah. So just saying, I guess not too much is different since the last time we spoke. So still doing the training, still doing the coaching, running retreats. The retreats have been on hold for a little bit, but I'm hoping to reboot them next year. So just doing a few other coaching things, setting up some different programs. So yeah, it's fun times. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah. A little writing, little bit of video production. So I'm starting to get back into that now that my voice is kind of coming back a little bit. So yeah.
Oh yeah. You said you had some evil virus for like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah. It was, I don't know
Yikes.
What the heck it was. It wasn't like, okay, laid out flat for a couple of days. And it was just sort of like this, like, okay, I'm not really sick enough to not work, but I'm not, well enough to do cognitive tasks or so just like cough or whatever. It was just like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm done with this now. So
yeah, seriously. Well, I'm glad you're at least functional.
Yeah, somewhat. So
somewhat functional.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what's this retreat you mentioned? So I think you mentioned like next year, October, when we were chatting, you're going to do a retreat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that's kind of the plan. It's a loose plan right now. So hoping to go to Europe. The last one we did was Belize, which was this past February. That was awesome. And then we did one in Portugal, kind of the spring before that. So I was trying to do them yearly, and I still want to get back into that. So it's a lot of fun. It's just taking a bunch of cool people to a cool place, and it's healthy-ish, right? So it's fun. We go on adventures, we do workouts. There's a chef there, so it's wonderful. And then we just kind of we have some fun there too. So it's great. It's a lot of fun. It's deep learning. It's deep connecting, and it's a really good time with great people. So I do miss it now. So I think I've gotten that itch back to see, okay, let's ramp this up again.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sold, man.
Yeah. Come on out. Yeah.
Hey, just for our listeners, Mike is one of the few, I'm not going to use the word influencer because I fucking hate that word, but fitness professionals and content creators on the interwebs
Thank you.
who has actual legit information. And something I actually really like about folks like yourself is like not in a negative, whiny kind of way, but legitimately calling out trends, professionals, things that are dangerous in the diet industry. Like when there's something wrong, and there's a lot of those things, Mike's going to call out that shit, and I like it.
Well, thank you. You've got one of the best BS detecting kits there, so I appreciate that. That's high compliment.
Well, and obviously we're linking to all your socials. So Instagram, you're pretty active on Instagram. Is that kind of your main thing right now?
Yes. Yeah, I would say Instagram. Yeah, Instagram's probably the main channel.
Sweet. Yeah, very cool. So what's on your brain right now in terms of this whole like BS busting thing? You put a couple of ideas just before we started recording. Longevity seems to be like the in thing to talk about now, or to hack, using that annoying term. There's also the use of tech and details and measuring and tracking everything. Yeah. Which I think sometimes might be related to the longevity thing. Like people are tracking all their info in order to live to 200. Yeah. What's the deal with that? I mean, research like Peter Attia, all these dudes who are like, yeah, I'm doing all this so I can live till 100 and also kick ass while I'm doing it. I think there's some legitimacy to that, but also there's a lot of bullshit. Yeah, I think that sums it up perfectly. And it has become a hot topic. And I guess with sort of, a lot of the population is aging, myself included. I'm kind of hitting a milestone birthday this year. And it's like, okay, it's a little bit more top of mind. So, like you said, I think there is legitimate and there's a lot of good data and research coming out on best ways to. And when we talk about longevity, the word people tend to throw around now is health span rather than lifespan, right? Because lifespan just implies, okay, that's the day you die, whereas health span is how long you remain healthy into that older age, right? So, and that's where people like Peter Attia are addressing those things. And he wrote a particularly in-depth book about it, and a lot of which, I'd say I agree with 80% of it. And then I'm starting to read other things that sort of countering some of that. And whenever you get a trend like that, people are going to hop on it and just try to, I guess, overwhelm you with things that may not necessarily matter. And that's how that fits into the whole, as I was talking about, over analytics, right? And very often optimization becomes fixation. So whenever somebody asks, okay, what is, the key to longevity? Well, there's not one key to longevity. And basically, I think the first thing to tell people is like, just chill out about longevity. And that's going to, because I think when you hyperfixate on trying to live as long as you possibly can,
you're paradoxically actually making yourself less healthy, right? So whether it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting enough sleep. Oh my gosh, I'm not hitting all these boxes. And we have all these high-end testing and MRIs and you can do. So I think there's a misstep here when it comes to people who are generally healthy, seeking all of these like extra tests, and whether that's a CGM or a continuous blood glucose monitor, or just hyperfixation on, these Whoop bands and higher end watches, wearables have become very popular too. Mm-hmm. And there's so many analytics you can look at. And I think, once you start looking at everything, something's going to be a little bit off, right? And that can start to cause stress, and you fixate on oh my gosh, this number's just a little bit off. And, I think it's great that people are screening. People should get checkups. People should monitor certain health aspects, get your blood pressure checked. All that stuff is great, heart rate variability even. But I think when you're looking at these markers, for example, the CGMs, like if you're not diabetic or not pre-diabetic, there's not a lot of merit in hyperfixating on what your blood glucose level is 24 hours a day. And in fact, it's normal, right? What we're doing is we're sort of medicalizing and pathologizing normal stuff. Because when you eat, your blood sugar is going to rise. That's natural. Now, if it doesn't fall down after a few hours, then that's not normal. And that's where we need, further investigation. But if you're just absolutely trying to keep your blood glucose as low as possible all the time, it's not really a useful measure. It's not really a useful marker, right? It's like saying, okay, well, you shouldn't exercise because exercising gets your heart rate and blood pressure up. That's what it's supposed to do.
Exercise creates inflammation, so it's bad for you, Mike, don't you know?
Yeah, that's the exact same logic, right? So, okay, if that heart rate and blood pressure doesn't come down after you've cooled down, then okay, that's obviously a problem. But we tend to just, and there's a huge market for it too, as much as these people like, oh, big pharma's evil, but yeah, you're actually selling things that people don't need, right? Like, so yeah, for problems you don't actually have. And I think that's basically the entire MO. That's the entire business model of sort of biohacking, is selling us solutions to problems we don't actually have, right? And all of this just becomes kind of like, it's the shiny new thing. It's the new gadget. And so it's hard to separate the noise from what actually matters, right? So yeah, I think, the longevity thing, like I said, there's really good research coming out, but there's flaws in these things too. Like Peter Attia has got great chapters on, building strength, building power, retaining muscle tissue, building your VO2, building all these different things. Your social relationships are very important. What you eat is important. Who you spend your time with, where you live, that's all important, right? But he has this sort of mentality, and he has the time and energy to work out, to get like 290 minutes of activity a day. Not everybody has that time or the resources, or what I mean? So I think that's where and he's really sort of bullish on things like rapamycin and all these other things. So I think, it comes down to sometimes we chase these supplements or this one thing, this one hack, this, this breakthrough, and we really don't have that. There's been reams and reams of research, and we haven't found like one thing that's really responsible for a longer, healthier life, right? It's a collection. It's an absolute sort of multivariate situation there where there's a lot of moving parts. And I think it's just one of those things that can get really overwhelming and confusing. So that's why, you and I, we try to sort of, steer people away from that hype and just say, okay, this is what we know. This is what this is what's important.
And it's usually boring, and it usually doesn't sell millions of dollars worth of books or, online courses or what have you.
Yeah.
It's interesting actually what you're saying about Attia. I read his book, which is called Outlive for our listeners, because it was recommended to me by a doctor friend. But the caveat was, coming from this friend, it kind of seems like advice for rich white dudes. So it's exactly what you're saying. Like the number of hours this guy spends rucking every week and strength training and doing zone 2 cardio and whatever the hell, like that is unrealistic even for most fitness professionals who do this as a, for a living, right?
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, I completely agree. I think there's the basics. Yeah, we should strength train. Yeah, we should think about being not just alive, but also functional when we're 100. Is this concept of the centenarian
Yes,
decathlon.
that's right.
It's actually kind
good.
of cool.
I like that.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
Right? Think about what you want to do when you're 100, like lifting a grandchild or going traveling or whatever. So that's cool. But the same doctor friend I got into a conversation with, kind of going into the details, reading Atiya's book and reading about heart rate variability and all these things people are measuring.
Mm-hmm.
I got an Aura ring, like mostly out of curiosity. I was like, what the heck is the hype around this, right? It's not gonna like lead my life or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly I want it to remind me to get off my ass throughout the day when I'm working. Cause yeah, I work out most days of the week, but then I sit on my ass and work. Anyways, heart rate variability is one of the metrics that it measures. Of course, we have to take all these things with giant grains of salt, right?
Yeah.
But my heart rate variability is really low for someone who's fit or whatever. And, there's a lot of genetic factors. Do I care? No. Do I stress about it? No. But I texted my friend anyway. He's an internal medicine specialist.
Very cool.
And I'm like, so what's the deal? Like, I have a super low resting heart rate. I work out a lot. Everything's good. HRV is super low. Like, do I start drafting my epitaph at this point? And he said he sees so many patients come in stressing so much about stuff like this that, exactly to your point from earlier, they're actually creating more negative input, like the stress and the cortisol and the worrying and the whatever, about this thing that actually can't really be changed that much.
Yeah.
So it's a good point. Like, yeah, we can measure these things, but then A, what do we do with that information? And B, is it accurate?
Yes. Yeah. I love that, because you brought up something as soon as you started talking about it. I was like, that's absolutely it. I think it becomes a double-edged sword, but where it's useful is as an awareness tool. So whether that be like, your my Fitbit or your Aura or whatever it is that's saying, hey, okay, time to get off your ass, right? Whatever that is. And I like it too. At the end of the day, I'll say, okay. And I'm very lucky because I move around a lot during the day. So my step count's usually pretty good. But for things like sleep, like, it's like the heart rate variability. It's like, oh my gosh, like if I say, oh, the Fitbit said I only got like this much, and, it means I need more sleep. It's sort of, you sort of level to what your watch is saying, right? So, but I think it is, any type of measuring, and whether that's like, tracking your calories or your macros, it's an awareness tool, and we have to have something intuitive in there as well when it comes to eating, but also when it comes to living, right? So if there's a device or something that is sort of prompting us, okay, we could be a little bit more active here. It's good. It's just an awareness tool, because sometimes you don't know. And even when I'm tracking, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I thought I was eating this many vegetables. Turns out like I'm a serving or two short. So it gave me that awareness tool, right? But if that's your lifestyle and you're perpetually measuring every single thing every single day, like I would not wish that on anybody, right? But I would have a client say, okay, you know what? If your goal is weight loss or body recompositioning, okay, if you've stagnated, maybe let's track for a week. Let's just to see. But eventually I want you to sort of leave that nest and just be more intuitive, right? And focus on what matters. So narrow it in, and don't worry too much about getting the certain amount of minutes. Just be active. Just default to some sort of activity, and just make those small changes every single day that are going to, result in bigger sort of macro changes.
But see, that's not exciting.
I know,
that's
boring.
Not different. Like, John Goodman, who's been on the show as well, he always says, if coaches actually showed on social media what our actual training is, no one would follow us, because it's boring.
It's so true.
It's the same shit over and over again.
It's so true.
Right?
Karina's doing a regular squat. What? No, I don't want to see that.
Heck,
Like,
right? Yeah, no. Swipe.
What's
boring.
that? Pull up? Oh gosh.
Yeah, boring. I've seen that before. But that's how it works, right? It's the basics. And I think because there's so much money involved, and, industry, sponsorships, advertising, the whole thing, we now have that piece that's not actually science-based, and it's a bit performative, and it's about entertainment. And look at this crazy exercise I just did yesterday at the gym.
Yeah.
That's not how people actually got baseline strong.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly. It's not real life, really. It's not
right.
Yeah, it doesn't reflect
social media is never real life.
I know. It's so true. Yeah.
Well, you just mentioned getting people moving, finding something that's enjoyable. How can we decrease all the noise that's out there about this. Because again, people fall into this trap, like we talked about before, about optimizing and zone 2 and zone 3 and minutes and tracking on your tech and blah, blah, blah. Like, how do we get people out of that? I have one client in mind who was working with us for a while, then finished, like he's on his own now, which is honestly the goal for most of our clients.
Absolutely.
But at the beginning, it was very difficult to kind of create habits, create routine, because it was overthinking at every step was what was happening. So is this optimized? Do I do this exercise first? You know, like even though we're programming for our clients, like, oh, what if I did it this way? And oh, what should I be tracking? And, you know, there's all these details when actually you just need to get into the gym and lift some heavy shit for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
you know?
100%. Yeah.
So how do you work with clients around that?
Your one rule there was perfect. Okay, in terms of separating the noise from what matters, is like, okay, if it's boring, it's probably good advice, right? And in your example too, there, it's like, oh, which exercise do I do first? Oh, I'm a little bit confused. It's like, yeah, just get to you. So if I have clients that sort of work out at home, I'm like, just get into that space, and there's some resistance there, especially with the strength training sometimes. And it's like, you know what? Just get into that space, whether that's your gym, whether that's your home gym, whether that's that little corner in your house where you're going to do this workout, and you just get there. You just get into that space, and you know what? I'm going to get you to warm up. And then you're going to do the first exercise, and then just go from there. But for 3 times this week, I want you to just get into that space, right? So what is the lowest, the minimal effective dose? What can we do to sort of spark that action, right? And I think it's James Clear that says, you know, systematize before you optimize, right? Just create those small, pick that lowest hanging fruit and just get after it, right? So whether maybe that's cutting up one vegetable, right? And you know, maybe that's preparing 2 meals this week instead of 1 meal last week. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just one batch of cooking, and then we go from there. But just, you know what, get to the grocery store. That's your goal, is get to the grocery store, shop from a prepared list, bring it home, prepare it. Get a 1-pot dish, whatever it is that that you can cook in bulk, and then just leave it. And then we take that next step, right? But I think it's just that first thing. Okay. And sometimes that's a matter of rearranging our environment, both home environment, outside the home environment, our social environments. Sometimes it takes a little bit of revamping of that, but just the simple stuff. Okay. You usually go to bed at 10:30, 11. Now you're going to try to go to bed at 10, right? We're going to work backwards from there, because a lot of where people are failing or having a hard time sometimes is they're not sleeping well, or they're not sleeping enough. So it's like, okay, let's work backwards. If you can save yourself, you can get an extra half hour of sleep, that's going to make a big thing. And just, control what you can control, make that time, set those implementation intentions, and say, okay, not only, I'll try to work out 3 times this week. No, I'm going to be in my gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 a.m. And I'm going to do weights, and then I'm going to do a little bit of cardio. I'm going to do a bit of stretching, right? So be very specific with what you want to do, what your intentions are, and then just follow through as best you can, and knowing that it's going to be imperfect. Knowing that, if you aim for 4, you might get 3. And that's still a victory. Getting there, getting better than you were last week.
Small wins. James Clear talks about those too, right?
Yeah, 100%.
They're basically votes for the identity that we're creating, the type of person we want to be. And it can be as simple as get your ass into your workout space. That is it. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's right. You're identifying somebody as healthy. Yeah, exactly right. You are an exercise. You are somebody that pursues health. Even if, and people will sort of push back, oh, well, I'm not healthy. So how do I identify? No, you're identifying as somebody that's aiming to be healthy. You're identifying as somebody who eats healthy, and even if you're not there yet, right? You're still putting in those votes. You're still casting those votes for that person you are becoming, right? So it's just that one letter, really. Like, I'm a voter instead of I vote, or
right.
And for those that have kids, changing one letter, like are you a helper, right? Instead of can you help, with something like that. It reframes the relationship of that word. It becomes more of an identity based thing rather than something that you just do, right? So
there's a lot of really interesting talk about that. Like, someone who says I'm a runner is legitimately shown to actually be more consistent with running than someone who says, I run.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. So I think it's just all about like, hey, meet yourself where you are. heavy doses of self-compassion, right? Because you're not going to get this right all the time. You're going to mess this up, and that's okay. But the balance that self-compassion with that self-awareness where you're like, okay, this is what went wrong. This is how I'm going to fix it, and not just get stuck in that perpetual cycle of, oh, I can't do this, right? Because I think it's just, life's going to hit you with lots of different things, and it's going to pull you off track, right? The science of weight loss and health, while complex and complicated, it's relatively simple, but the application of it is not easy.
Exactly. Hey, I had a conversation about this whole identity thing with one of the fellow TEDx speakers.
Oh, yeah.
So she's actually doing her talk on this concept around habit change, identity change. She's an ex-GP who just got, disillusioned with the medical field and left it, and now does coaching and completely different work. Sure. Anyway, so, it's not a novel concept. Neither is my TEDx talk, by the way, just so we're clear. But what I asked her was, okay, so yes, I completely understand that this identity piece is important. We just talked about this. But how do I foster that, right? So I used an example where 3 of the musical instruments I play, I've been doing forever. Like I've been playing piano since I was 5. I'm 39. I play accordion. I play didgeridoo. That's what I do. I teach those things too. Recently, though, like in the last 2 years, I've been learning and dabbling in djembe, like hand drumming.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I've performed, little shows and stuff, but I don't feel like I have the identity as a drummer. Why is that? It's been 2 years. How do I foster this? I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah, because it's sort of adjacent to what you're doing. It's not like, I've gone from playing music to calligraphy, and then you have to sort of, like completely revamp everything. So it's interesting that it's like it is sort of just, okay, it's a different musical instrument. I mean, mind you, it does take different, it is quite different from the others. But with identity, that one's a bit more complicated, because I have people that struggle with different forms of it where they're like, okay, switching identity. So for example, you can have more than one identity, right? So you can identify as a healthy person, but you also identify as somebody that likes to have fun with their friends and somebody that's social, right? So it's okay, how do we marry these two things so that you're still able to follow through with your goals in life and things like that? So what I say to them is, I think that's an important identity to hold on to. But now you're like, okay, I'm just going to shift this a little bit and merge the two identities, where it's like, okay, I still identify, like this becomes my North Star identity of being a healthier person. I can still identify as somebody that has fun. That just looks a little bit different now, right? So, but with that example though, that's an interesting one, is not being able to identify as doing that. So I guess it's just looking at it in a macro way. And I guess I get people that draw certain exercises too, and some of that is like your personal mission statement, right? I know it's a little cliche, but like that can sort of map out your sort of your whys, your identities, and okay, why is this important to me? Why do I want to learn this particular instrument over the other ones? And sometimes that helps reinforce it if you have it somewhere where you're like, okay, you write it down, it's on paper. Okay, now this is part of, it's becoming more entrenched in my identity. So that was a little bit of a roundabout way to get to there. But
no, it's cool. I don't think there's one answer. Honestly, I think part of it is probably also expectation management, which is the same as our clients, totally. Right? Yeah. I saw a definition of an athlete as anyone who moves their body intentionally, right? So most of our clients probably, I'm guessing, wouldn't call themselves athletes. We're not like, competitive powerlifting coaches or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're active people. They're athletes. They're moving their bodies intentionally, right? So it could be a little bit around what the expectation is. Like maybe a drummer is anyone who hits things in a rhythmic manner, in which case you could be a drummer on a bucket.
Yeah. There you go. I think you've worked it out.
I don't know. Maybe it's something around that. Like, what does it actually look like? And what am I trying to achieve? And also my husband is a legitimate drummer.
Okay. Yeah.
Like kit drummer.
Nice.
So that could have something to do with it because he's amazing.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. No, I think, that's true. Sometimes it's sort of who your comparator is. And I think that's where people sort of, oh, well, I can't identify as that. I'm not that athlete. Like, yeah, but there's a whole broad range of definition of athlete. And I love that just sort of blanket definition. Yeah, no, if you move your body in some way, in some capacity, that's above and beyond rest, yeah, you're kind of an athlete. And quick story on that too, because I used to work a great deal with young people, and it did start off with traditional athletes, but then I started getting more interest from kids that were inactive, right? So part of my mandate was to convince them, no, you're an athlete too. You're just a different type of athlete, right? So we'd oftentimes find things that they were actually good at that they didn't know they were good at. So it might have been boxing. It might have been just like their strength. It might have been just some skill that they were like, oh, okay, actually, I'm not bad at this, right? So, they're athletes too, right? I'm like, they're just different types of athletes. And once they start seeing themselves as more athletes, they're like, okay, they kind of have that little bit of that buy-in too, because otherwise they'd be like, no, I'm not. Those are the athletes. The ones that play the sports are the athletes. We're not, right? And I think we're too quick to sort of put things in buckets and categories, and we don't see this as the totality of things and the potential.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, are you still mostly working with people in person? Do you do online stuff?
I do online stuff as well. Yeah. So I'm still working with people in person. So I'm doing kind of a hybridized thing still. Yeah. So.
Got it. Yeah. It's kind of a different world, in terms of having these types of conversations with clients, and I don't know, face-to-face is always different. I do miss the face-to-face interactions, but I love that we get to work with clients regardless of location.
That's awesome.
So you can work with exactly the folks that you want to work with.
For sure. Yeah.
And I still feel like we've got good communication and relationships with our clients. We're chatting virtually right now, and it just feels like a normal conversation.
Totally.
So
yeah.
There's a lot you can do online.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's wonderful.
I was just creeping your Instagram, and there's this post, many excellent posts.
Oh, thank you.
But one of them is a pie chart where like 99% of the pie chart is green, and a tiny little sliver, the 1% is red. And the title is Things You Need to Do for Healthy and Sustainable Weight Loss. The green 99% is Master the Boring Basics. We've heard this before, right? Eat whole foods, more protein and veggies, better sleep, walk more, lift some weights. And then the tiny little sliver of red is try another diet, cleanse, or detox. Which probably shouldn't be in there at all. Exactly. But,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think that sort of encapsulates the sort of like, okay, this is the percentage of effort we should put into those basics, right? And, you have options within those basics, but it's an imperfect experiment. And I think we have to just look at it as that. Everything's data, right? It's like, okay, we're going to learn. We're learning about ourselves. We're learning what works for us. We're learning how to get out of certain comfort zones that we've been accustomed to, because I think that's a lot of what it's about, is just breaking through certain perceived barriers. I'm not even going to call them barriers, but a lot of them is perceived barriers, and doing things for the, that we've been doing for years, just for the sake, the simple fact that that's the way we've always done something. Right. So I think, and I'm still, at my age, just still trying to break through different habits and weave different things. And it's interesting, and just basics. Like, if we use a musical example, I just started hacking around on a piano last year, like just for fun. I used to take piano when I was a little bit, like, there's just like, there's basic chords, right? There's 3 or 4 chords, and that it's that viral video, The Axis of Awesome, right? Where they said almost every hit song is just 4 chords, right? But you can learn so much from those basic chords. So it's the same thing with healthy eating and healthy living. Okay, this is what we're going to strive to do. And now we spend our energy and focus and time and attention into how we're going to take that low-hanging fruit and make something good out of it, right? So, yeah.
I like what you said about everything's an experiment. We tell our clients that all the time. And I feel like, of course, even us fitness nuts who do this as a profession are still figuring things out and testing new things. I kind of feel like the things you're experimenting with, though, as you go along, are smaller and smaller. Like, we've figured out how to be consistent with workouts. We've figured out how to get our veggies, and we might be tweaking those things a little, but it's kind of like an Olympic athlete working for 4 years to shave off like 0.2 of a second on whatever time they're going for. Like, they didn't start out that way. They started out learning how to skate or how to run or whatever.
And those are the people that maybe those metrics are going to be good for, but it is going to be a very, very small percentage, right? We're going to examine everything, because every little thing is going to compound into, okay, shaving that second off, whatever that time is, right? But, for 99.999% of us, most of that stuff is noise. It's extra, and it's not, it's not going to make a difference. It's like wearing thinner socks to run a faster marathon, right? It's like, it's not going to, it doesn't matter.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually. It's like, okay, if your entire livelihood is based on this one outcome. Yeah. Okay, sure. Mm-hmm. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
But for 99.99% of us, what difference is it going to make?
Yeah.
It's probably just going to add extra stress and then be a negative influence.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't want people listening to think, oh no, we shouldn't get checkups. We shouldn't measure, things like blood pressure and heart rate. Because these are metrics, and they're signs, right? For something else, whether that's your weight or your BMI, right? These are just flags. And then, okay, maybe we do further investigation, and they're awareness tools, right? As long as we can frame it as, this is an awareness, whether that's weighing in every day, whether that's like checking your resting heart rate. They're numbers that we say, okay. And we look at it, like you said, as an experiment, as a scientist, and just say, okay, wonder what that's about. Wonder if that's some transient number. Cause like you, my heart rate variability is lower than it should be, given my other markers are pretty decent. Right. I had the same, actually, oh my gosh, am I like, should I be writing my will now too? It's like,
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But for sure. So I get it. So, I could get caught up in it too, where I'm just like, it becomes a little bit of a preoccupation.
Yeah. Well, like you said, they're metrics. It's data. These numbers, like your weight on a scale or your blood pressure or whatever, they're not judgments of someone's moral character.
Yes. Yeah.
They're just data. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, though. I think it's easy to get caught up in those. Ren Jones, who's been on the show a couple of times, he's got this great concept of like, okay, if this box that you're stepping on dictates the emotional quality of the rest of your day, you should probably break up with the box.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think there's cases where actually data is harmful depending on someone's relationship with it or past.
Yes.
Yeah,
I 100% agree. And I think that, there's an important qualifier there. And I think, I'm sure you tell your clients the same thing. It's just like, look, this is just a number. This is part of a much, much, much larger picture, right? And we do emphasize the non-scale victories and other metrics within that. So whether that's tape measurements or what have you, but like, don't let this affect your emotional state. This is just a number, and, not to get too excited if it drops or too down on yourself if it goes up, because that's what it does, right? It doesn't mean you gained 1 pound of fat overnight, right? Right. So it's, I think they're just numbers, but they, again, an awareness tool, right?
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, I think it also applies to nutrition, right? There's certain folks where nutrition tracking is actually not a good idea. Mm-hmm. We've got a number of folks who have ED histories in the past. Of course, we're not medical professionals, but there's still trauma around that. There's still triggers. And so for folks who have been there, even, we've got one person who 50 years ago had not a good relationship with food, and it's still triggering. Oh my goodness.
Now. Yeah.
So is that person going to track their calories and their macros and the ingredients of their lunch? Nope.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Mm-hmm. So I think it does depend, but generally, I mean, these are kind of outlier cases, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you there too. Yeah. If they have some sort of trigger there, and like I said, they've sort of, and they seek the appropriate professional help. I agree. Yeah. It's just more about like, okay, let's focus on things that are not related to scale or tracking. Right. And, there's other ways to do this. That's the beauty of what we do. They have options, and there's lots of different ways to go about this health thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, earlier you mentioned environment, kind of like creating environments that are conducive to the things we want to do. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example of some of the stuff that I do, and then I'm interested in yours. Mm-hmm. So I kind of see it. What does James Clear call it? Going back to him, like architecture. What's the architecture look like around food, around workouts, practicing your instrument, whatever. For me, it's all about accountability.
Yeah.
Like probably 95%. So my friend and I started an open water swim club that we're consistent with our own swim training.
Perfect. Yeah.
Right. So now we have to go because we're leading it. It's a social thing. You know, we have like destination swims throughout the whole summer. In the winter, we're swimming in the pool. Anyway, so that's our kind of architecture around distance swimming.
Yep.
And then for me, it's the same with strength training. Most of my workouts are with a training buddy.
Love it.
So they either show up to my gym or we're on FaceTime with a friend that lives in Vancouver.
Perfect.
Is it ideal in terms of me hitting my specific goals? Probably not, because we're trying to do a workout that works for us both. But I wouldn't be as consistent if I didn't have this structure. So what are kind of environmental architecture type things that you do for yourself?
Yeah. And I love that. And for me, it's like, okay, I'm lucky that I work in a gym. So I've got, I wouldn't say I have it covered, but it's like, you know, I'm right there. I've got no excuse not to, right? So, but for me, I think one of the most helpful things I've done, honestly, and this was probably about 4 years ago, is just plugging my phone in a different room before I go to bed. And that, that was sort of, that gave me kind of a threefold benefit. And I've used it with other clients that have had similar issues, because you know what would happen is, okay, go to bed, all of a sudden, okay, I'm going to scroll. And then I just keep scrolling. And then all of a sudden, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour goes by. And then it's like, okay, now it's time to go to sleep. So that's time I didn't get to sleep, right? So that's up to an hour that I've lost sleep. Secondly, if I woke up in the middle of the night, I can't reach for my phone. It's over in another room. So then I'm not scrolling and then, you know, interrupting my circadian rhythm again. And then thirdly, when that alarm goes off, I can't just hit snooze, right? I got to get my butt out of bed, walk into the kitchen and physically turn it off. So I'm up, and when I'm up, I'm up. So that just opened up a lot of productivity for me, I guess. But yeah, and other than that, I think once the pandemic hit too, like I had to have, even though exercise and working out is something I do enjoy, if it's something I've got to get out of a closet, if it's out of sight, it does become out of mind. So you can sort of look, I'll show you behind me. I don't know if you can see, I've got kettlebells and
the weights, the mats, very nice.
So that has to be there though. Like, because that's in front of me, and that's an environmental trigger, right? So it's all about making these desirable habits like 10 to 30 seconds easier, and the less desirable ones, 30 seconds more challenging, dividing that, putting that sort of cognitive wedge in there, right? So I think, environment wise for food, it all starts at the grocery store, right? So, and this is what I tell my clients, and I'm no fun, Mike, the good times ruiner, but I'm like, don't bring anything home that's going to be like problematic. And that's not to say don't have that thing. That's to say don't bring it home. And that's to say if you do want that thing, wait 15 to 20 minutes. And then if you really want it, you put your pants on because, that's socially acceptable. You have to wear pants when you go out now. So, and then you go out and get that thing and enjoy it moderately, blissfully and without guilt. And then that's it. Right. But you only have to say no once when you don't have it in your fridge or your cupboards, right? But then you have, okay, it's there, and for me, some things I can do without, but other things are like, oh my gosh, like if I open that lid of ice cream, I'm just going to throw the lid out because I don't need it anymore. So yeah, I think that a lot of the driving that food, that home environment, that healthy environment is just having access to healthy food. Right. Because if there's a plate of vegetables, I'll eat them. My kids will eat them. But if there's a bowl of chips there, I'll eat that. You know what I mean? So it's about what's in front of you and what you have access to and what's within arm's reach. Right. And if it's not convenient, like I live in a very sprawling, like urban area, and I can access basically anything at my fingertips, but I'm just going to stick to what I have at home. And I think that's the biggest sort of, guardrails you can put up in that sense. So yeah, having things visible, just designing things around your life that you're like, it might just be something like, okay, we eat dinner at the dinner table, then we watch TV on the couch, right? And we don't do both unless it's a special occasion or something like that, right? Like just setting up those different environment triggers, right? So, okay, my shoes are at the door, everything's ready to go. We're designing our life in a way that it's easy to be active, it's easy to eat well, easier, right? Because life hits us, and again, things get busy, right? But if we can just carve out that little bit of of extra time during the week to prepare, just things are so much easier, because when you're sort of behind on things, all of a sudden it's, the week goes by and like you've just been scrambling all week. So yeah, just making those, whether it's Sunday or Monday, whatever your day is for grocery shopping, make that sacred, right? Make that sort of an appointment.
I love all those examples. Yeah. It's the same for me. Honestly, if I don't food prep on Sunday, I'm screwed. And I don't mean like all my meals, every single thing taken care of. No, I mean, that's not realistic for me. But, like little glass containers of lunches, so I can just go to the fridge, grab one of those, instead of be like, oh, now I have to take 20 minutes and, not work or miss something, or
100%.
I don't know. It's just more of a mindset, I guess. But if it's ready, easily grabbable, already prepared, I'm way more likely to eat my vegetables.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I'm the same. Like, dude, I could have a bag of chips sitting in the kitchen for 3 weeks. I don't care.
Yeah.
Actually, I could have ice cream in the freezer sitting there.
Nice, yeah.
Don't care either.
Yeah.
If we're talking Oreos, if we're talking gummy candies, different story.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. We all have
same idea.
thing.
Like, Justin's peanut butter cups. Oh my God. Those are amazing.
Yeah.
So I can't buy them in the like bag that has the mini ones. I have to just buy the individual like 2 peanut butter cups, and then I enjoy those and move on with the day.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's the way to do it.
Love it.
Yeah.
So what can we plug for you, Mike? You've got your coaching. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I work with individuals. So it's basically more in the realm of fat loss, and it's mostly women 50 to 65. That's who tends to sort of seek me out the most, and that's the demographic I enjoy working with the most too. And so for people that struggle with weight and just setting things up, just structure and mindset, habits, that are just feeling stuck, and mostly people that have sort of been there, done that with the fad diets, right? That are just looking for no nonsense solutions, cutting through the noise, that sort of thing. My coaching philosophy is basically, unlocking things that you already have, right? And I love what you said earlier is like, you had a client that left because they finished, right? And they've sort of, they left the nest, and you did your job, and they're on their own, which is great. And that's, I think, should be the end goal for coaching, is to just set people up with systems and just, that accountability and just get them to realize their own potential.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like why we track food, at least in our coaching. The point of tracking food is to get to a place where you don't have to track anymore. Yeah,
100%.
It's kind of the same with coaching. Like, we do have long-term clients. I mean, we've got a couple clients who've been around since like 2012 or 2013.
Wow, yeah.
Are they doing nutrition coaching and form checking and all the like communication? No, it's very like, we're very sure that these people can be consistent on their own. They just want the lack of mental effort for making new workouts and accountability and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same concept, like get to a place where you don't need it.
100%.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mike, so great to speak with you. Thanks for catching up.
Yeah, thanks, awesome. Karina. This is awesome. I appreciate you very much. And this is always a lot of fun. So we'll chat again soon, I hope.
Sounds good. Mike, thanks again for coming on the show. To connect with Mike, head to our show notes at nobullshitvegan.com/213. All the best for a fantastic 2026, and thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to the No Bullshit Vegan podcast at nobullshitvegan.com.